Hello, it's the latest film club, and to celebrate the publication of Roger Morehouse's book Wolfpack, we're starting a submarine quadruple epic series, beginning with today's Tony Scott classic starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. Yep, it's Crimson Tide. Hello, welcome to the latest film club. We have Roger back and Tim as well. And this is, of course, really the first of a four-part submarine epic to celebrate Roger's publication of his new book, Wolfpack, his history of German U-boats during the Second World War. And so this is really, Roger basically wrote the book so that we could do these four podcasts to talk about our favorite.
That was always the ulterior motive.
Yes,
primary motive even.
Yeah. So we're going to talk Crimson Tide first. So we're going to do Crimson Tide and We Dive at Dawn, which is out next week, and then in October, or sort of later on in October, maybe it'll fall into November, we will be doing Hunt for Red October.
Love that film.
And Das Boot, which is the main one, because of course that's the one that Roger's been keen to. Well, he wrote the book for.
I wrote it at least part in homage to Wolfgang Petersen's epic Das Boot.
Once again, another war film where the Germans are the good guys. Interesting.
Yeah, you don't like these, do you?
Interesting psychological element to your.
I think you should. Your next
adoration.
book should be. Your next book should be an homage to Crimson Tide.
Do you think?
I'm not sure how you're going to get much of the history, your expertise in there.
Well, it's a sort of 30 years ago. Is it Cold War movie?
Yeah, it is.
Interestingly, the sort of the things that are going on in it's sort of Vladivostok, isn't it, in the east coast of Russia?
Yes.
It's not a million miles away from.
Yeah, I think the premise is actually fairly plausible. I thought.
Yeah.
The way that could play out. The only weird bit, or the bit that sort of doesn't chime now, is that the Russian government become the good guys. Now the Russian government are the rogue actors rather than being the rebels. So
yes, we were still in that period.
We were still in that sort of honeymoon period where we it was possible that Russia could become a normal state. As we know, it hasn't.
No, very, very. Yes, the Russians have disappointed us, I think.
Very much. That's putting it. That's a masterful piece of British statement. They're disappointing.
It's just not cricket.
It's just not cricket at all.
No, and that will come up for our second movie, We Dive at Dawn, which I have to say, dialogue is quite superb. But Crimson Tide. But before we start recording, I wanted to do a little homage to Robert Redford, who we learned died yesterday, and we've covered him all three of us discussed him in All the President's Men. And I saw a clip of the phone conversation where he exposes a sort of inconsistency, and it's just masterful acting. And if you were to put a gun to my head and do favorite Redford movie, it would have to be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, followed by The Sting. But I wondered if either of you wanted to mention how much you love Robert Redford.
I love Robert Redford.
Yeah.
I
Is that all you're going to say?
Well, I mentioned I love Robert. The Sting is my favorite of his films. I think by far. I think it's one of the greatest scripts ever written, and I think he and Newman are amazing in it. I adore Butch Cassidy, but The Sting has always taken pole position for me, and I adore All the President's Men, which I know Roger found a little dull, but I love it so much, and I loved. He's a true true movie star, but great actor at the same time, and just extraordinarily charismatic. Wasn't a massive fan of his, not because of anything in his performance, but certain films like Indecent Proposal. I thought he could have given those a miss, but loved seeing him pop up in Avengers.
You loved that, did you? No, I haven't
Yeah,
seen any of it. I don't watch those movies.
He's a bad guy, and which one tends to do maybe in their later years, like Harrison Ford has done recently. But good innings, and must give a shout out to the fact that he founded one of the greatest independent film festivals in the world, which is the Sundance Film Festival, which is still going strong, and was a launch pad for so many great independent films, including one that we love, Ollie, Reservoir Dogs, way back in the day. Great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Butch Cassidy, of course. I actually, I think my feelings towards all the President's Men have probably softened somewhat, Tim. I don't think for saying that I just found it dull. Did I find it dull? I mean, I had some
boring.
I had some criticisms, but you're right though, that there's scenes in that where he's a brilliant actor, and it's kind of feels like one of the greats has gone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly at a pretty ripe age, and he's done very well. But it does feel a bit like one of the sort of titans of cinema has departed the stage.
Yeah, there aren't many left.
3 Days of the Condor.
Yes, I need to watch that again, actually. But just a quick, why did he not do any more films with Paul Newman?
They were, I think, I'd have to read up on this, but I do remember that they were talking about doing another one, and it fell through, and I can't remember what it was. But I think there had been talk about, I can't remember the premise. But it just never happened, which was a shame. They were kind of the one of the original buddy.
Yeah.
Their chemistry is so natural; it's brilliant. Anyway, we can't.
And Robert, back to Robert Redford. Well, Paul Newman as well, but an absolutely beautiful man, like a stunningly beautiful man, a rare thing.
Yes, there's a brief anecdote about him applying, auditioning for The Graduate, which Dustin Hoffman, of course, got the part, and the director Mike Nichols said to him, "Well, look, I really want you to try and play someone who just hasn't got the girl. Who the girls
it's never going to work.
Good luck for you." And, yeah, Robert Redford was like, "What do you mean? I don't understand."
The idea of not getting the girl is just something utterly alien to
me. serious prosthetics would be needed, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but definitely in the Dustin Hoffman camp. Right,
yeah,
so
completely.
let's start Crimson Tide. Now, this is the two iconic actors together. So for a start, this is just what cinema is for, to have two actors like Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington together is quite brilliant. But Tony Scott, directed by Tony Scott, the late Tony Scott, brother of Ridley, of course. And this movie, which came out in 1995, we've talked about the Russian element to it. Basically, it's there is this sort of threat from a sort of Russian rebel group in Vladivostok, and off goes the USS Alabama to, in one of the great scenes, in fact, there's trouble in Russia, so they called us. I mean, just brilliant, Stars and Stripes. Let's all sing the Star Spangled Banner. But stars Denzel, Gene Hackman, of course, George Zunza, who's very good.
Great character actor.
He's very good. He's very good in the Michael Douglas Sex film with
Basic Instinct. Sex.
What's it? The one with?
I think you mean Thriller.
Yes.
Which has quite a bit of sex in it. Basic Instinct.
That's it. Basic Instinct. Yeah. Viggo Mortensen in an early role.
Yeah.
James Gandolfini, of course.
Your favorite.
He was good. Yeah.
I love Gandolfini. Matt Craven, who's very good, is a sort of Weasley officer. There are some other other actors in there. Steve Zahn, who I recognised, and then another. What was the name of the actor who's in Bronx Tale? He's very good in it.
Oh yeah, the kid.
Yeah, Italian American guy.
Yeah, really good. Lilo Brancato.
Right. And this is a sort of is this produced by Don Simpson, isn't it? And Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is one of those classic kind of testosterone fueled
Frequent Tony Scott collaborators, actually,
yeah. Okay.
because they all did Top Gun. Yeah,
Yeah.
Top Gun. Yeah.
And there's something I have to say on that subject. There's something kind of relentless about it, isn't there? It's utterly breathless stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a moment's rest.
It doesn't actually. I
No.
mean, that's a really good point because it's 116 minutes, but it flies by.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen it.
It's go on. You've seen
Well,
it.
I've seen it about
a lot.
10 times, I'd say.
Yeah.
Maybe more, 15.
It
I
was
could watch it again tomorrow, though.
I could. I mean, it's fun. It's phenomenal. You know, down to the two leads are fantastic, opposite each other.
Yeah.
I would even vouch for Gene Hackman having been nominated for this, but he wasn't, because I just thought he was so powerful.
They don't.
I think it's. I know you don't.
Movies, do they?
No, that's true. That's unfair, in fact. But I know that you won't entirely agree with me on this, Ollie, but this is my favorite Tony Scott film. I know True Romance is yours,
yeah.
Which is kind of slightly against my character because, of course, True Romance was written by Tarantino. But it was my favorite Tony Scott film in the 90s, True Romance. But now, with a bit of hindsight,
Maturity,
I just think
might one say, Tim? Maturity.
Sorry?
Maturity, might one say.
Yeah, growing up. I mean, you know, let's put it as plainly as that. The direction in this, I think, is superb. Superb. And really because of, you know, based what Roger just said about it being relentless. I mean, it's no easy feat, I don't think. One location.
Yeah.
Very
to maintain the intensity.
Yeah.
I would even say, I know we're not yet getting into the, you know, picking it apart. I would even say I think it's almost a flaw in this. I know I'm the one with the heretical opinions. I know that. But you know, it brings me back to the thing that Spielberg says about, you know, you can have sort of like he does in Duel, for example. You know, you can have maybe 3 jump scares, for example. I know that these are not jump scares, but you kind of need to vary the pitch of the tension, you know, to raise it and lower it through a film, I would say. And the same thing with the book. You've got to focus in and focus out. And if you've got too much intensity, I think it is a tendency perhaps, well, you get exhausted as a viewer, but also there's a tendency just to kind of, oh Christ, you know, you switch off, right? And I think that the sort of constant intensity of this, I think, is almost a flaw, that it needed to just have some moments of calm before it ramped up again. Thoughts?
I actually thought that I thought that they balanced it quite well with moments of calm.
Okay.
Particularly when it all kicks off and you know the power changes, the hierarchy changes because of the essentially the mutiny, I guess, if you put in inverted commas. But you have Hackman and his dog.
Yeah.
Wonderful moments of calm there, I think. Just also the when everyone calms down a bit, you know, there are stretches where, okay, so now we've taken the tension slightly out. I don't know. You would definitely then find a film like Uncut Gems unbearable.
It's so stressful, that film. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, Roger.
I haven't, I'm afraid. But it is stressful is the word. It is kind of, I find it quite stressful. Maybe because I watched it at 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, maybe it's that I wasn't, you know, I was mentally upset.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a great film to wake up to. What did you not think that the build to it, to the first
the build
moment
up was great. The build up was great. Yeah.
Is, you know, imagine
and the interplay between the two, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington, brilliant. I mean, there were a couple of moments, I think, when Denzel Washington is first expressing his concerns at Gene Hackman's decisions and decision making. And there's a moment where he sort of grabs the microphone, to the tannoy to speak to the crew, and Gene Hackman shoots him this look.
Yeah.
Fuck, that was brilliant. Just because he did, obviously nothing was said, but he just sort of shoots him a look, and I thought, wow, that's good.
Yeah, there are looks in this.
Yeah,
between both of them, there's a look where Denzel looks very hurt when he's shouted at for the first time.
Yeah,
and that it's just so convincing. It's incredible.
And he doesn't he do this brilliant kind of movement with his? He just sort of slightly scratches his nose. It's kind of it's a little nervous. Yeah.
So that interplay was really good,
and it's so interesting because I always thought that from the before they get on the boat on the Alabama, actually up to the bit where they're on the Roger, quickly help with the name. The bridge, is it the bridge in the submarine?
What on
the
top
sticky
of
uppy thing?
Yeah, the sticky
tower.
Uppy thing.
Yeah,
right. And
the what tower? Sorry, say again.
Conning Tower.
The Conning Tower, and they called that on a U-boat as well, did they, Roger?
No, I think they called it the bridge on a U-boat actually.
Eine Bridgen.
What do they call it? Not a bridge. Eine Bridgen. No. Was it Brücke?
Der Bridgen.
I remember. I can't remember. Okay, we can cut this bit out. It's fine.
When they're when they're on because listeners could help.
The U-boat historian help the U-boat.
Yeah. Exactly. Could someone help the expert on what the name of the bloody thing
I should mention there is a link in the show notes for Roger's book, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, wonderful.
But the when they when they're on, and then they smoke the cigars.
Yeah.
And everything seems sort of relatively harmonious, but
there's an undercurrent, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a brilliant subtlety in this isn't going to work. Something's not going to work out.
But do you think that's Gene Hackman and Denzel? Because Denzel's the up-and-coming actor that, he right then he was super hot and would get even hotter. Gene Hackman knows
I think it is. It's down to them. There's not much in the way it's shot that suggests, they're not doing lingering kind of suspense moments of editing or prolonged emphasis on anything that's suggesting any kind of conflict. But I think
but there's a tension. There's a tension, absolutely, and that's really, and that I'm telling you, teaching you to suck eggs here, Tim. I know, but that. That's lovely acting, isn't it? Because they're
absolutely, I agree completely.
With just a sort of a look or a like you said, a gesture, and then you bring across that's the subtlety of that situation.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed that. So the interplay between those two is great. I thought, and as we said before, plausible premise. Enjoyed that.
It's an interesting concept. I love films where essentially the argument is presented in a coherent and understandable way from both perspectives.
Yeah,
where you understand both parties to some extent.
Yeah,
and you can. I think maybe veer more strongly towards Denzel Washington's side because he's making a very valid point.
This is a great point to make because we will, all three of us have to decide who we agree with in this. Podcast.
Whereas Hackman is, of course, in a position of power that he doesn't want to relinquish, and he doesn't want to come across in any way vulnerable, I guess.
Of course.
But he's received an order.
Yeah.
And the second order isn't an order.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could go up and confirm. You've got to confirm. I don't know. I mean, who? Let's go. You
yeah,
go.
The communications are down, so he can't confirm it. So he's got to work on what he's got, which is a difficult one. And then I think actually, the complaint that the second order was incomplete, therefore is invalid. Is procedurally is fine. And actually, the film kind of. Rounds off this sort of central conceit quite well, with the sort of board of inquiry where the admiral says, well, you're both right and you were both wrong, sort of thing. which sounds a bit sort of commonplace and a bit trite, but actually it kind of makes sense that you can see where they're both coming from. Like you say, they're both valid positions. But it is also the central dynamic, obviously, of the older, old school commander with all the bags of experience and all that, and the young buck. And I don't know if having the older guy being white and the younger guy being black. I mean, we're sort of hypersensitive to that now. Maybe we weren't 30 years ago, or maybe that's intentional as well. That that Denzel Washington signifies the next generation. Maybe there's meant to be that sort of racial element to it. I don't know, but that's interesting. That's the key to it, is the younger generation, supposedly more thoughtful. There's that scene where he looks through his CV and he says Harvard, like like you went to Harvard.
Yeah.
So it's that that's the sort of the key counterpoint between the two characters, which, as we said, works really well, and they play it out really well.
And I guess you see Washington's family at the beginning. It's all very, ideal, kind of liberal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Hackman is the conservative, old school, like you say.
Yeah.
Hard-nosed.
This is how we do things.
Yeah. No emotion whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for his little dog.
Yeah.
Now the dog is, I think, significant. There's a reason why they put a dog in the script. Maybe this is the only outlet of emotion that Hackman has. And loyalty in that sense to
interesting.
To family.
So you're saying that they make a point of showing Washington's family at the beginning.
Yeah.
But the only family, in inverted commas, that Gene Hackman has is his dog.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Who will do there's
what
no
he's
arguing.
told.
Yeah, there's no arguing with the dog. Or the dog's never going to argue with Hackman.
No, that's true.
What's the and I think Viggo Mortensen's character obviously is a friend of Washington, isn't he? Because he's at the beginning. All really harmonious and lovely, and Washington's, like you say, he's the young buck. He's the up and comer. He's the future. Hackman's kind of the old. He's going out the door really soon, isn't he?
Yeah.
But for me, I think this is best exemplified by the conversation that the officers are having in the mess before things go south, where basically the discussion brings up von Clausewitz. War is the extension of politics by other means, and Washington. They're both right. They're both making points that are absolutely correct, but they both contradict each other, and then it's obviously the harbinger of what's to come, because nuclear war is so catastrophic that Denzel Washington's right.
Not to be entered into lightly.
Yeah. So you fire off your missile. Okay, great, you've done your job.
Yeah.
Hats off, well done. But you probably means the world's going to end as a result of that.
Yeah, and I think that's where the counterpoint we just made about the family and the dog, that comes in as well. He's thinking about his family, and they even make the point later on. So think about your family, and he says, "I am." Remember? That's I think that's an interesting point there. Yeah.
Okay, so just a few little points about this. I think, Tim, we have a category later with Tarantino, but
our favorite category.
Yeah, but he did actually.
Yes, it's the first time on Aspects of History where we can legitimately include Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, he
polished
the script, didn't he?
He did a polish.
Did he really?
Well, he didn't do. I don't know if it was
uncredited
an full polish. It was an uncredited contribution. And in fact, once you know this and you watch it, or even just think you watched it this morning, Roger, so it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
It reeks of him. All the comic book Silver Surfer stuff, that's all written by Quentin Tarantino.
But that wasn't a huge amount, was it?
No,
it's one scene. Yeah.
It was an instant. However,
but it gives you an insight. Gives you an insight into Washington's leadership style.
Yes,
very different
absolutely.
from Hackman's, right? So
absolutely.
that's another clue to the counterpoint.
Yeah. However, knowing that he did this, I mean, he was on set as well, which we'll get to. Well, knowing he did this, I would not put it past Tarantino for having written, this is a guess, but I bet it's true, all the dialogue regarding the Lipizzaner stallion being white and black.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the race here. Yeah.
Because that's a brilliant analogy. And that's what Tarantino does very well, is what we call set up and payoff. So he sets up the horse talk early, and then it's the punchline that wins the argument at the end.
Yeah.
Well, you were right, I was wrong.
No, the the way Hackman delivers it is brilliant. The way he says, those Lipizzaner stallions, they're white.
Do you think? I mean, bearing in mind this is 95. I mean, I listened to that again, and I thought, is that meant to be a race point? Do you think?
Has to be, surely.
I think so. Yeah,
but it feels a bit, before its time a little bit in 95, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I agree, and it's a very, very close topic for Tarantino. He's always, I think, if you go back to one of his, I don't know, it's his stepfather, but his mother's long-term boyfriend was black, and spent a lot of time with him, and took him to the cinema when he was a kid just by himself. He took him to blaxploitation films, and that's why I think Tarantino's dialogue for black characters is sublime. He knows how it works. He knows how they talk, and that's why he's so good at it. And I mean, as a little side, the famous Sicilian speech in True Romance, delivered by Dennis Hopper to Christopher Walken, was a story told to him by his mother's black boyfriend.
Right.
And to the point where apparently when they watched the film, he was like, I told Quentin that. I told him that.
Right.
And I think, it pervades his work. And so when it happens in this film, I thought that's got to be Tarantino's dialogue.
Yeah.
The delivery of Washington's, they are white, but at birth they're black.
They're born black.
Is such a great one-up.
Yes.
A conclusion of this whole, and in summary of this whole,
of that relationship,
conflict they've had and relationship. Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah.
Now there is a rumor, and I don't know how valid it is because you don't really hear it discussed, but that Denzel Washington didn't like some of the dialogue that Tarantino had written, and
I don't think for this film though. I think he had he confronted him about his overt use of the N-word in his work in general.
Yes, it would be difficult to see unless the dialogue that came back from Tarantino was filled with N-word all over it in Crimson Tide,
Maybe.
which I doubt. I find that difficult to believe. Yeah, but it is mentioned in the context of this film. But I'm sure you're right, Tim. But apparently they buried the hatchet. I don't know if there was much of a hatchet to be buried, but you never really.
I think it became it almost became physical. I think.
Oh wow.
On set, but he called him out in front of everyone, and I think Tarantino basically said, "Look, if you want, we can talk about this, but can we go to one side?" But I think it ended up being fine. They were on Jonathan Ross together, I think, and and Washington was like, "I never got the call, but I would love to." I think it'd
be great to see Denzel in a Tarantino movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Washington's obviously a very good and close friend with Spike Lee. In fact, they've just made a new film together. And Spike Lee is rather anti-Tarantino.
Is he now? I don't think he is now. Is he?
I don't know. Maybe after Django Unchained, he was very sore.
Yes.
What right does someone like Tarantino have to tell a story so surrounding a Black history and
Although
Slave.
Denzel is very impressed by Django Unchained. He thought it
Yeah.
was brilliant. Yeah.
So,
okay, right.
so that's his contribution.
Right. So let's. Should we do our nominations?
Yes.
So just a quick one on the film. It cost 53 million to make, and they had to basically build a submarine, and it made 3 times that. So wildly successful.
Yeah.
Just very quickly before we get on to, I wanted to ask Roger just the ins and outs of the workings of the submarine and the accuracy of the hierarchy. I mean, I know you're not an expert probably on, well, actually you may be, I don't know, on American modern submarine warfare and procedure. But is it all, pretty spot on?
I think as far as I know, and that's to be honest, very limited, because I'm, as Ollie knows, I'm one trick pony on World War II. But I mean, they have to have those procedures in place, right? Because you must be a possibility, outside possibility, that you can have a rogue commander, or a commander sort of loses his nerve or has a nervous breakdown or whatever. So they would have to have those procedures in place that your 2IC, your second in command, has to be able to agree with any sort of major decision making. So I think that's perfectly plausible. Absolutely. One thing that was interesting, actually, the first thing that struck me when when they have the fire in the galley. Remember, they have the fire in the galley, and then at the same time, Gene Hackman's character calls a drill.
Yeah.
So it's still going on. They're having a crisis. There's a fire in the galley, and one of the crewmen dies in the process. But then he calls a drill at the same time, and that's the first sort of moment where Denzel Washington kind of goes, "Really? Like, what the hell are you doing?" kind of thing, and confronts him. And interestingly, from my book, to bring because it's all about me. Let's bring it all the way back to Wolfpack. But there were moments like when they're doing the training in U-boats in World War II, that they would, create a crisis. Because you have to see how the men deal with a crisis. You can't do a drill when it's sunny and there's no enemy and it's perfect conditions, and then they go, okay, let's do a drill. That's not teaching them anything. Getting them to do a drill when they're already in a crisis situation. Turn the lights off, do a crash dive, and then vent the engine exhaust into the boat, and then do a drill. Then people actually learn something, and they used to do that in the U-boats, which I thought was interesting. So when I saw that scene, I thought, yeah, I mean that kind of rings true. Maybe not to the extreme situation where someone's just died, but in terms of drilling in when you're already in crisis, is kind of interesting, and I think quite plausible proposition.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
actually, who do we agree with?
I'm with Gene Hackman in that particular scenario.
Yeah,
when everything's hunky dory.
Yeah, I would in that scenario. I'm with Gene Hackman.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, sorry, no, that was me.
We'll talk about
Gene
when we
Hackman's
do our
line.
best scenes. We'll see whose side we're on, and on the
right.
big clash.
So nominations, Ollie.
Nominations. Should we do best performance first? So it's got to be between Gene Hackman and Denzel. And I think it's so difficult because I love Denzel Washington, but my nomination, would be Gene Hackman.
I agree.
I think you'd be very hard pressed to beat Gene Hackman in any film he's ever done.
Yeah, I mean he's a fairly abhorrent character, it must be said, and I think even at the end, that final scene where he says, you were right, and he says, and he says about the horses. He's an obnoxious character.
Yeah.
But he does it so well, and as we said before, the little asides and the glances, and superb actor. Yeah, I'd go Gene Hackman as well.
Right, so it's unanimous. Oh, Denzel! This is our first film.
He's doing fine.
He'll be all right.
He's got 2 Oscars, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Gene Hackman, I think, has 1 or 2.
No, he has 2.
2. Oh,
French Connection and
Unforgiven. Yes. Unforgiven. The great line, "I don't deserve this." Clint Eastwood replies, "Deserve ain't got nothing to do with it."
That was a brilliant impression.
That's
a brilliant impression, Ollie. You should go on the stage.
Right. So, okay. Moving on to best supporting performance. Now, there are. I think I'll nominate 3 supporting actors here:
Hmm.
Gandolfini,
Mm,
George Zunza, and Viggo Mortensen.
mm.
And Mortensen's really good. He's a bit weak. He can't
Yeah,
really decide. He changes his mind a few times.
yeah.
He sort of betrays
Difficult.
his
He's
friend,
very
then
good
doesn't.
friends with Desmond. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So he's very convincing at that. He's got a sort of slightly whiny voice, which irritates me,
Yeah,
which I'm sure
I
is meant
found him
to.
quite irritating.
Yeah,
he was all beads of sweat rolling down,
Mhm.
perfect
chain
cheekbones.
smoking.
This is
You know,
this is extremely telling of a great actor because he is Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. Remember, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And the guy in Eastern Promises as well, the
yeah,
Russian. He's
and the
excellent actor.
wonderful cameo he has as the South American wheelchair-bound drug dealer in Carlito's Way.
Nice,
Wow.
great knowledge,
Good.
great
Oh, that's
knowledge.
impressive.
Well, he is.
Carlito.
But I'm afraid I would have to give it to George Zunza. I just think
Oh,
Zunza is
oh.
just so convincing as
Yeah, I'm very shocked. I thought you would take James
I wanted
Gandolfini
to
over
go with
anything.
Gandolfini, but this is very much Gandolfini before Gandolfini is given a role where he can really stretch
Yeah,
his sort of
yeah,
legs.
that's true. He's sort of he's the guy that you kind of bring in for that role
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
at that
superb
stage
in
of
it.
his career. Yeah.
Yeah, sort
yeah.
of.
I,
Um,
yeah. Okay. So, what would you say, Tim?
See, I love George Zunza. I think he sort of slightly disappeared after. I actually don't know what happened to him. I mean, wonderful actor from The Deer Hunter. I thought he was amazing and actually quite underrated in that film as part of the ensemble. So I kind of want to give him a bit of aspects of history recognition.
Love.
Yeah, he hasn't done
Um,
anything in 15 years. So he's, I guess, retired.
uh, what do you think, Roger? Sorry, I need help.
The one that stuck out to me was James Gandolfini. I have to say. I mean, there was one scene that close to the beginning when they're sort of walking, they're still in the base and they're walking through the corridors, and he's actually speaking at the time. I
Mm,
think it's a sort of an ensemble piece, and he's speaking, and a female, member of the female naval personnel walks the other way, and while he's speaking, he does this very exaggerated kind of look back as she walks past,
yeah.
which I just thought was I mean, it was just this side of comical, and I
Mm,
thought it rather endeared me to his character, which was a thoroughly, I mean,
yeah.
not a particularly
Nice
nice
moment
character.
on the bus with the
Yes,
press ups.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
that
bullying
well,
And then he
the.
yes,
just carries on talking while the
yes,
guy's
but yeah, so thoroughly, pretty unpleasant character, but that I thought just as a throwaway. I mean, you could have missed that. He didn't say anything. It
Mm,
was just the look again. It was the look, and I
yeah.
thought, yeah, I like that.
And
It's
and
quite
again,
funny.
that's kind of significant if you think about his character and the way he so blindly follows
Yeah.
Hackman, no matter what.
Yeah, so he's old school,
Yeah.
is what it's
So you
saying.
see that kind
All
of
of this
balance.
is pointing up that he's old school.
Mm.
Yeah, he's
Whereas,
desperate to fire the
yeah,
nuclear
Yeah,
missiles.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Whereas
yeah,
George Zunza is
He's again by the book.
he's by the book exactly. He's by the book, but he's not. He doesn't. He won't um side with blindly side with Hackman,
yeah,
but he's resentful. Um, he doesn't exactly acquiesce completely peacefully to Denzel
yes.
Washington's side of thing.
No, exactly. Yeah.
But
So
he has to.
there's a complexity to his character there. But I think for me, I think I'd still say Gandolfini.
So Gandolfini.
So it's your casting vote, Tim.
I
Well,
go with Viggo.
what?
Yeah, it could.
I think in terms of memorable performance, if you were to think about the film in years to come, not having watched it for a while, I would probably think Gandolfini was a little bit more.
I'm completely fine
prominent
with
in
giving
my
a
mind.
prize to James Gandolfini.
And he may not that George Zunda's not, I don't know, but yeah, James Gandolfini, fine.
Okay, all right. That's good. Right, we'll do our scenes. So okay, I think I had listed out a few scenes that I liked, which were the crew standing on the submarine whilst Hackman shouts out, "There's trouble in Russia, so they called us." And then we're what is the ship that? What does it represent? They're very fine people, sir, and outstanding, sir. All that kind of stuff. I love all that. That's brilliant. Then the cigar scene, just as they before they dive, when Gene Hackman says to Denzel, "You were right not to say anything there and ruin the moment." The dinner party scene, it wasn't really a party, dinner scene, when they were talking about nuclear war, and they all seemed to cheerfully want to fire off nuclear weapons apart from Denzel. And then the first disagreement, which is over what you were talking about there, Roger, the
drill.
The drill. The second major disagreement, mutiny. Right, so mutiny. Was it a mutiny? Who's mutinying?
Well, I mean, you can argue what Denzel Washington is.
Denzel.
But no, but he's going by the book.
Yeah, but he's usurping his commander.
Well, yeah.
But
there you go. You're already arguing. Yeah, you're already arguing
naval regulations
for Denzel Washington, because Hackman claims it's a mutiny.
Yes, but he has. Okay, so we did a film called The Bounty about Fletcher Christian and Captain Bligh, where that's obviously a lot more clear cut over who's mutinying. In this case, there are a set of regulations that you're meant to carry out, the set of steps that you're meant to carry out and follow when you have a nuclear missile to fire. And as part of that, the XO, I think is that, have I got the title right for Denzel?
Executive.
The XO has to concur, otherwise you can't fire the missile. And in addition to that, by the captain not only wanting to proceed to fire the missile and then wanting to strip him of his command, that's completely out of order and goes against naval regulations. So I don't know how Denzel, who then has to follow his orders, which is basically to relieve the captain of his command, because he's basically lost his he's rather, I think he has slightly lost control of the situation, the captain, and reacts emotionally.
Yeah, and that's true.
And therefore, I would say if it's a mutiny, the captain weirdly, paradoxically, leads a mutiny.
Can it be called a mutiny?
I know, I agree. So,
well, this is the central sort of dilemma of the film, isn't it? And it's a good one. Yeah.
But it's personal loyalty which leads his junior officers to support the captain. It's not because
except for Zunder.
Well, exactly. I mean, he supports the executive officer because he's going by the book. Yeah. So I would argue very strongly that it's not a mutiny by Denzel Washington at all, and that if anyone's doing any mutineering, it's the captain.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Funnily enough, I've never thought that it was a mutiny. I just looked at it as two sides of an argument, two valid sides of an argument. But now that I'm actually we can vocalize this. I mean, I've not had a debate about Crimson Tide with anyone in my life. In fact,
your life is probably better for it.
Yeah, little did I think that this would ever happen. It's I'm coming down on the side. Really, what you say, Ollie, is not. Is actually I'm siding with Washington more and more.
Yeah,
pains me to say because I love Gene Hackman. So yeah. Siding with the actor as opposed to the character.
But it's interesting how Roger, your U-boats of course didn't carry nuclear weapons, but that changes the whole context. I mean, if it was just a torpedo, then Denzel would be like, fire it away, go for it.
Yeah, true.
No, completely. And I mean, a third of torpedoes in the early phase of the war failed as well. So, it's a lottery as to whether the damn thing will blow up anyway. So,
do we have any examples of submarine mutinies?
No, not that I know, not that I know of. That didn't come up in my research with the U-boat war. There's a couple of captains become one captain killed himself on patrol. There's another one who has a nervous breakdown that we know of, and in both cases, obviously, their two ICs have to sort of step up and captain the boat. So there's a couple of those, but I never came across a mutiny.
The Crimson Tide submarine, the USS Alabama, is vast. I mean, Denzel goes for a run
I know,
for his exercise,
That's
which you couldn't
another
do in a
point.
U-boat.
No, absolutely not. No, the scale of these things is enormous. I mean, compared to that earlier generation that I'm talking about in the book, it's quite astonishing. And they are like massive. They're like hotels in comparison.
Yeah, I think that they're the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. I think.
Yeah, basically, they're vast things. Compared to
Yeah.
a 60-meter U-boat, which is the size, essentially the interior of it, the sort of habitable, workable interior of it is kind of equivalent to about two tube carriages, basically. That's only got 50 men in there, plus a load of torpedoes, engines, and everything else. So
were they smoking?
No, that would have been strictly forbidden. Up on if on watch and so on, then you could, but not down below.
Where Hackman smokes.
Yeah, well, they're all
the
Viggo
time,
Mortensen chain smokes throughout the
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah, I've found that very jarring watching that.
Okay, and then final scene I had was the court martial because you get to see Jason Robards.
Yes,
but
always pleasure.
Yeah, and they're all wearing the white uniforms. But I would have to, if of course, I think I would go for the actual breakdown in command. Scene. Because
so
a little bit
that first mutiny, we put it in inverted commas, but that first mutiny scene I thought was brilliant. The way it ramped up, and then Gene Hackman snaps and says, "You do what I effing told you," or whatever the line was.
And there are sailors looking around, looking at each other.
That was brilliant. I'm the captain.
I've made my decision. I'm the captain of this boat. Now shut.
Yeah, that was it.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was a wonderful scene.
I would put also the stallion talk at the end. I think is brilliant.
Yeah,
just when they're sitting facing each other, I think it's great. And he lights a cigar. When he punches Denzel Washington, I thought it was brilliant. Also, the whole sequence of the torpedoes.
Yeah,
coming with the young guy from A Bronx Tale. He's like, missed us, missed. I can't remember the dialogue exactly, but I thought it was quite suspenseful.
Is that when spoiler alert, they fire a torpedo, or someone fires a torpedo and they close down the range so that the torpedo isn't armed? Don't they do that? And they're like, haven't they seen Hunt for October? Because the same thing happens in that.
Exactly.
Like, surely
exactly the same thing.
But my point being that surely everyone knows that it takes 100 meters to arm the torpedo, and that if you close the range inside whatever the meterage is, it's not.
Is this one of the the inaccurate scenes that's coming up?
Yeah. Okay, that will be my nomination for inaccurate scene. But okay, so where do we want to? I mean, I think it has to be the mutiny, surely.
Yeah,
in inverted commas,
I agree.
The captain's mutiny.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's the Tony Scott directs. He makes a clear point if you rewatch it and take note of the way he frames the film, most shots in the film. When it gets going, when the action gets going, he uses an abundance of extreme close-ups. It's like, and even if you watch the trailer, you notice, wow, this is a film full of close-ups, and it kind of really enhances the claustrophobia of it all.
That's true. And like I said earlier on, a few minutes ago, about Viggo Mortensen, and about how the drip of sweat down the cheekbone. That's exactly what you're talking about, right? Because you notice that suddenly you're in extreme close.
And the idea is you're in the headspace. It's I can't get out of this.
Which it's bringing, like you say, it is bringing across that claustrophobia.
Very similar to the Sicilian scene in True Romance, actually, with the framing of Dennis Hopper's face and Christopher Walken's. Okay. All right, good stuff. An accurate scene. So yes, my nomination is the bloody torpedo doesn't arm for however many meters it is. I think it was like 400 meters or something. I mean, I would have thought that would be lesson 101 in how to be a submarine captain.
Yeah, and did they, have they not seen Hunt for Red October? I mean,
Exactly, yeah. You're not Tom Clancy fans, I'd bet.
In fact, that's probably one of the only films that they would, they'd run to see, a submarine film.
Yeah. Yeah, and they even reference the enemy below, don't they? In the film, they talk about
Yes, they do. Gary Cooper. Yes,
and they talk about Kurt Jurgens and all that.
That's so true.
So they reference there's a sort of a meta element where they're referencing.
That's a great point, Roger. So clearly, they are slightly incompetent.
I like the fact that you're
well, the Russians are. Whoever's
advice...
fired the torpedo is like, okay, we're being a bit unfair. It's the Russians who fired the torpedo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they are the ones who haven't watched The Hunt for Red October, which is understandable.
Which makes perfect sense.
I love the fact that the crew of this submarine, of all these submarines, to learn their craft, they should watch Hollywood movies.
Yeah, I'd imagine that half the crew of the USS.
Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, didn't do that in The Hunt for Red October.
They were going, well, we don't need to worry because the torpedo won't be armed because I've seen The Hunt for Red October. There's no problem.
That's how Rogers did all his research.
Exactly.
Just watch
exactly right.
Okay, so I still think the Soviet or the Russian Navy should have known about the whole, particularly. Obviously, it's a major defect in Russian submarine training.
Yeah,
because this is 2 films in a row now where Russians fired missiles.
That's true. Would a captain of submarine be allowed to take a dog on board?
Well, that's a question.
Well, I mean, what happens to all the dog shit?
Well, yeah.
I was about to say he lets
it piss everywhere. So.
Corridor.
Yeah. I mean, that's an issue. I'd have issues with that, to be honest. As much as I love my dog, I wouldn't take it on a submarine.
Yeah, dog smoking.
Yes, the air filters on the submarine, with all the tobacco being smoked.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it was forbidden in World War II.
Well,
sure.
different fueling system, of course, and then you've got, but then by the 90s, you're almost into human rights territory, and don't you smoke? Give me your secondary smoke kind of mentality. So it's a different world. It's a different world by 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger Moorhouse in Anachronism, shocker.
Okay, well, so what? The dog, the smoking, or the unarmed torpedo? I think still the unarmed torpedo.
Yeah, I'm going with that as well. I think. Yeah.
All right.
Procedure.
I think we're on to the Tarantino, which we kind of done. I mean, if Tarantino were to remake it, I was hearing there are rumors of a sequel.
Really?
Of Crimson Tide.
Jerry Bruckheimer being interviewed, and he mentioned that Denzel is up for it if the script's good enough. He's up for
it. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it could be interesting.
I'm all for submarine movies.
Well, I think this is so if we talk about it, we've kind of done the Tarantino conversation. So
because he's had enough of a contribution, basically. I think.
Yeah.
So legacy rating. So in the world of submarine movies, this is really up there.
It's brilliant.
I mean, I don't think it's quite. I'd say 4 out of 5. It's not quite Hunt for Red October, which was.
I think that's still the daddy. I love that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 4 out of 5 for legacy, but 5 out of 5 for quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. All right, well, that's been fantastic. Links to Roger's Wolfpack book are in the show notes, and it was on. Now, I noticed, Roger, it was on offer on Amazon.
Is it?
It was, and because it went out in our newsletter. Don't know if you know this, with a link to the book.
Yeah, that's obviously made the difference. So yeah, absolutely. Well, as the Germans would say, zugreifen. Get to it and get your pre-order in. Released on the 9th of October, of course, but get your pre-order in and you can be reading it on the evening of the 9th of October, courtesy of Amazon.
Absolutely, and we're going to be talking about the book when you come on the podcast, and it will be out. That podcast will be on the 11th of October. Okay,
Marvelous.
So that's been great. Next, we're going to do We Dive at Dawn, and then third film, of course, will be The Hunt for October, and then the big one, Das Boot. And so that leaves me to just thank Tim and Roger.
Lovely. Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks so much, guys.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening. Links are in the show notes. Please share with friends and family. And if you want to get in touch, you can through X or email history@aspectsofhistory.com. But until then, thank you and good night.